Hi, in this demo we're going to look at a simple iPhone application from start to finish. And by simple, I mean really simple. We're going to have a button and a label. When we click on the button, the label is just going to say, "Hello iPhone." So let's get started. The reason I want to do this is to kind of put everything in the context of our model view controller and to really start working up a good overview of how iPhone and iPad applications are built. So I'm going to use a single view template. And a single view template is going to give us a view controller and a view. And then we can control the contents of that view controller's view within the view controller class itself. So I'm going to click on Next. I'm going to name this Hello iPhone. I'm going to make sure that my device is iPhone. I'm not going to use storyboards, and we won't be using storyboards for a little while. I am going to use automatic reference counting, and I have include unit tests unchecked. So I'll click on Next. I'm going to save this in the Chapter 2 video folder and click on Create, and we're off and running. Now in the project properties, Summaries, we can see that there is more stuff here. There's the orientations for the device that we're going to support for an iPhone. There's status bar properties here. We will drag our application icons, if we have any, into these for a regular non-retina display and a retina display. There are launch images here. And we can see that 3 frameworks have been included for us: the UI Kit framework, the Foundation framework, and Core Graphics. UI Kit gives us UI controls, user interface controls, and some more supporting structure for that. And Core Graphics gives us some basic graphics functionality. Okay, the other thing we have here is an app delegate class, a view controller class, and a viewcontroller.zib file. And .zib files are referred to by the name nib. The nib designation comes from the Next Step Interface Builder. The interface builder we can get very simply by clicking on that zib file. And I can see that my view controller has a view, and that object is named view with a capital V. Now if I look at files owner, this is the views files owner. So if I look at the properties of that by right clicking, I can see files owner's properties. I can see that it has an outlet named view that is pointing to view with a capital V. I can change some things about this view. I can click on it and change its background color, let's say to kind of a nice bluish color. That's pretty nice. And I can do some other things as well that we'll be exploring as we go throughout the course. So I'm going to save this now. Now, I also want to show you that Files Owner itself has an identity, and its identity is View Controller. And that corresponds with this class right here. And also, in the app delegate, I have declared View Controller to be a class, and I've made a property called lowercase view controller. And then in the implementation, I've imported that view controller. I haven't, the template did this. And then I've just set up that view controller to be an instance of view controller allocated and initialized with the nib name view controller, which corresponds to this zib, and the bundle of nil. Bundle of nil refers to the bundle that I'm currently in, this bundle. So with that, all I need to do now is set up my label. So I'll drag a label out to the view and set up my button. I'll drag a button out, and I'll resize this label a little bit. Let's drag it out like this and then center it, and I get that nice vertical line. And then I'm going to go to the attributes pane, click on center for the justification, and then I'm going to double click the button. I could also select the button and change its text that way. Let's do it that way. And right here under the text, the title attribute, I'm just going to say hello, and that will resize the button. And then with the label, I'm going to double click that, click on backspace and enter to get rid of the text inside the label. Now I'm going to need a property for the label and an action method for the button. So let's go ahead and set those up. The property is going to be non-atomic and weak because the label itself is a UI label, but it is a subview of the main view. If I made it strong, it would be born with a reference count of 1. When it became a subview of the main view, it would then have a reference count of 2. When the main view went away, it would have a reference count of 1, and we would have to deal with that label, or ARC, automatic reference counting, would deal with that label. So by making it weak, when the actual view that the label is a subview of goes away, the label will go away as well because it will then have a reference count of 0. So I'm going to set up property and then non-atomic and weak. Then I'm going to, it's an outlet, so I'm going to use that keyword IB outlet, and then UI label. It's a pointer because UI label is a class. We're making an object. I'm just going to call this display. There we go. And then I need a method. This is a instance method of a view controller. And I'm going to use IB action. Remember, that's the same as void. It's type def to void. But IB action tells Interface Builder that this is something that needs to be wired up. Just as IB outlet is defined as nothing, but it tells Interface Builder that this is something that needs to be wired up as an outlet. So our action method, let's just call it button clicked or button touched. And then the parameter is whatever was touched. So that's going to be a UI button. And it's a pointer. And we'll just call it sender. It's normally just called sender. So now if I save this, I see these two little circles, and we'll deal with those in just a minute. They say that they have not been, this outlet and action have not yet been wired up to anything. But for now, I'm just going to grab this method signature and copy it and come in here to our view controller class and paste it. And there we go. And now I'm also going to need to synthesize our label property, and that's called display. And now all I need to do is when the button is touched, I just say self.display, and that's our label, .text. UI label has a property called text, and it is the text of the label. And then I set that to an NS string constant, @, and I'm just going to say hello iPhone. And there we go. And now when we run the app, I should see my nice blue background with a say hello button, and I shouldn't see this label until I click this and get the text. So let's run and see what happens. And there we go. Now when I click the say hello button, it doesn't do anything. The reason it doesn't do anything, you thought I made a mistake, didn't you? It's an educational opportunity. The reason we don't do anything is because we haven't wired up the label or the button. So if I right click on Files Owner, I see my outlet display, and I'm just going to grab this little circle and drag it to my label, and it knows it's a UI label, so it works. And then I'm going to take my button touched method and drag it in the same way to my hello button, my say hello button. And with buttons, we nearly always use touch up inside. We'll explore some of these other opportunities later. And that's set. And now I can close this, and now I can run. And now when I click my say hello button, it says hello iPhone, and there we go, and it's working. The other thing I wanted to show you is that once we wire up the outlet and the action to our label and our button, the circles are filled. So these circles indicate whether or not a wiring has occurred in the interface builder. Okay, thank you very much.